Today we are honored to have Skihala Novki with us to talk about the life experience of him and his father, Skihala Chiunet, a righteous man who, as a diplomat in Lithuania, saved nearly 6,000 Jewish people's lives. Shalom Aleichem.
Shalom.
Your father had been called Japan's Schindler, and this expression seems to me a little strange because I think every act of saving lives at that time should be considered singular and incomparable. And unlike your three brothers, you were born after the World War. So when did you come to realize that your father and mother did a really great job that no one else can do?
Well, the beginning was when I was 18 years old, which is 1968, because my father never told me about his diplomat life. I knew that he was a diplomat, but what he has done till that time, he never spoke about. And why 1968? It was one son of survivors who received my father's visa to escape from a Holocaust. Came to Japan. He was a diplomat, commercial attaché of Israel embassy, and he was looking for my father, according to his family passport, where there was a stamp of Consulate General of Japan in Lithuania, and it was the family passport, maybe his parents, so he just wanted to say thank you to my father. And from that moment I started knowing very slowly what happened and what my father did.
Yes. And following your father's advice, you went to Hebrew University in Jerusalem to study. And before that, you almost know nothing about this nation. So, under what kind of circumstance that you understood your father's intention, and do you think he's a good father in terms of education?
Actually, my elder brothers, they studied in America, and I wished also to study abroad anywhere. And for that moment, my father just asked the Israeli diplomat if he can arrange a scholarship to study, and in Israel. So after 2 days, we got a phone call that they could arrange a scholarship in Jerusalem to study in the Hebrew University, and also the flight ticket and living allowance, everything. So I packed and I flew to Israel after 2 weeks.
Yes, and after study there, do you have much more good understanding of why your father decided to help those people in Lithuania at that time?
Yes, I could meet some survivors slowly. It didn't come in the beginning. I had no contact with the survivors, but after a few years, 5 years, 10 years, I started getting know some of survivors or children of survivors, and they told me the story how it was in Poland and escaped to Lithuania, and they had no place to go, and they went to every embassy for visa to go out from Lithuania and to reach anywhere in the world, America, Israel, or South Africa, Europe, but all the embassies shut the door, And it was only Japanese consul still packing and going to close the door of the consulate. And they begged my father. So I happen to know my father sent 3 times telegram to Japan, and the government refused 3 times. So he had to decide by himself to issue visa just to save their lives, because he knew what was happening in Poland with German Nazis. They were killing Jewish people, and Jewish people were running away from Poland and reached Lithuania, which was a dead end. There was no more place to go.
Yes. And we know that in Japan there are several films made on the basis of your father's life experience. But we agree with you that their quality are not satisfying. And yes, and what do you think, in your opinion, what is the proper way to tell the history, to make a feature film or a documentary film?
It's a kind of manga film.
Yes.
With real actors, and the story is a fiction, not historical documentary, not historical future film. It says this film is fiction based on real story, but they should write it's a fiction film based on not real story. I mean, whole story is created by somebody to make fun, or sometimes very tragedy. You get tears in your eyes. You know, typical manga, or people like to show with the famous actors film that they come to see, and they get tears, so they think it's a good movie, but it's not a real story. My father acts like James Bond, or he has some girlfriend here in the church, on there, and Jewish people in the movie, they didn't use Jewish actors or actresses, so there is no feeling of Jewish people in the film. It's a kind of fake film. I think it was successful in Japan, because Japan is small, but nobody outside Japan purchased the film. They go to America, they go to Europe, they show free the movies, but they say they went all over the world to show film, but nobody bought the film. So here, this is the result of the film. It's commercially third-class film.
Yes. And what is the proper way to tell the story?
First of all, it should be documented very correctly, archived from the research, not from told story or guessed story.
Yes.
We need many help for this, scholars who have record in history, and also any records which is written, because what we hear tomorrow, you hear something different.
Yes.
So we have to gather all the records in documentary. This is one thing. And if it's future film, it should be based on the history, the real history, not commercially to make millions of money, but so that people understand what is the Holocaust, what is humanity, and what is the peace. 3 things combined. It's not easy to make such a story that people would come to see, but just not to tell lies and fake story. This is what I think
And what is your plan in the future?
My plan?
Yes.
My plan is to make peace in the Middle East, because this is very important part in the world.
Yes.
If Middle East is quiet and peaceful, world has more peace. Always problem starts in the Middle East.
Okay, thank you.